Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's daughters are set to hold crisis talks this weekend following the former prince's arrest, it is claimed. Princess Beatrice and Eugenie are described as very distressed and utterly horrified after the ex-Duke of York was detained on his birthday on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
Behind the palace gates, tensions have been quietly building within one of the royal family's most complicated relationships. For years, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie carefully maintained a calm public image, standing firmly beside their father, Prince Andrew, despite relentless scandals. But now, everything appears to be unraveling.
Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie have been banned from attending Royal Ascot in June, and they won't be allowed to join their family in the royal procession either.
Sources claim that Prince William has privately confronted the sisters with information that could shake their carefully guarded world. What exactly did William reveal that left Beatrice and Eugenie visibly shaken and struggling to hold themselves together? Royal crisis. Beatrice and Eugenie frozen out. For years, the British royal family has tried to move on from one of its most damaging scandals. But recently, a series of quiet yet powerful decisions inside the palace suggest that the effort to protect the monarchy's reputation has entered a far more serious phase. At the center of this storm are Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, the daughters of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. For much of their lives, the two sisters managed to maintain a relatively positive public image. Unlike their father, they were often seen as modern, hard-working members of the extended royal family who tried to maintain dignity despite the growing controversy surrounding Andrew's connection to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. Many royal watchers even believed the sisters had been unfairly dragged into a scandal that had nothing to do with them personally. But behind palace doors, the mood has reportedly changed. According to insiders, senior members of the monarchy have begun to question whether Beatrice and Eugenie are as distant from the controversy as they once claimed. Over time, whispers began to circulate about financial links, social circles, and past associations that placed the York sisters uncomfortably close to figures connected to Epstein's world. While none of these suspicions have been proven in court, the growing pressure on the royal family to show absolute accountability has forced the institution to act, and the consequences have been dramatic. One of the clearest signals came when the sisters were reportedly barred from attending the prestigious Royal Ascot. For generations, Royal Ascot has been far more than just a horse race. It is one of the most visible gatherings of the royal calendar, where senior royals appear before cameras, greet guests in the royal enclosure, and reinforce the traditions of the monarchy. Being excluded from that event is not a small social snub. It is a powerful public message. Sources claim that the decision came directly from King Charles III after intense discussions inside the palace. Reports suggest that Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, strongly supported the move, arguing that the monarchy could no longer afford even the appearance of connections to the Epstein scandal. For a long time, Charles had tried to shield his nieces from the full weight of the controversy. The argument was simple: they were not responsible for their father's actions. But as public scrutiny continued to grow, the pressure to take stronger action became impossible to ignore. The final decision marked a turning point. As of early 2026, insiders say the York sisters have quietly disappeared from several official royal schedules. Invitations that used to arrive automatically have reportedly stopped. Their presence at high-profile royal gatherings is no longer guaranteed. In effect, they are being pushed further and further away from the core of royal life. This move is part of a much larger strategy unfolding behind the scenes. The royal family understands that its survival depends heavily on public trust. After years of scandals, controversies, and uncomfortable headlines, the monarchy appears determined to prove that titles and bloodlines no longer provide automatic protection. Anyone whose reputation could damage the crown, even indirectly, is now considered a risk. And under the rising influence of Prince William, many insiders believe the palace is entering a new era, one defined by stricter discipline and far less tolerance for reputational danger. But the most shocking development may not be the ban itself, because behind this decision lies a deeper revelation, one that reportedly left Beatrice and Eugenie devastated. What exactly did William uncover about the York sisters? And could the truth be far more disturbing than anyone imagined? Let's find out. William's bombshell that uncovered the York sisters' secrets. Inside the palace walls, a quiet but powerful shift had been unfolding for months. The royal family was no longer willing to tolerate uncertainty, secrecy, or risks that could damage the crown's reputation. In a move that shocked even longtime royal watchers, the institution made a clear choice. Tradition and family loyalty would no longer come before accountability. Protecting the monarchy itself had become the top priority. At the center of this dramatic turning point stood two powerful figures, Prince William and Princess Anne. Both are known for their strict sense of duty and their belief that the monarchy must always stay above scandal. Together, they quietly began examining concerns that had been circulating behind palace doors for months, concerns surrounding Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. What began as routine internal discussions slowly evolved into a full investigation. Princess Anne, often described as the monarchy's most disciplined and practical member, took charge of the review. Known for her sharp focus and military-style efficiency, she approached the matter with the same seriousness she has always applied to royal duty. But she was not acting alone. Prince William had already raised early concerns in late 2025 about the York sisters' outside business activities and the lack of transparency surrounding them. At first, the warnings were subtle. William had reportedly introduced new ethics verification procedures designed to ensure that members of the royal family remained financially transparent. These protocols required certain disclosures, basic safeguards meant to protect the crown from hidden conflicts or questionable partnerships. Most family members quietly complied, but Beatrice and Eugenie did not. According to palace insiders, they repeatedly avoided the full verification process. What may have seemed like a simple administrative delay quickly turned into something much more serious. For William and Anne, this was not a minor oversight. In the modern media environment, a refusal to be transparent can create suspicion far worse than the truth itself. And that suspicion triggered alarm bells. Anne began assembling a detailed internal dossier that examined the York sisters' financial connections and outside investments. The findings, sources say, raised troubling questions. Several business relationships appeared linked to networks that had previously intersected with controversial figures connected to Prince Andrew's past associations. The implications were dangerous. Even if Beatrice and Eugenie had done nothing illegal, the mere possibility that their financial interests overlapped with those of individuals tied to earlier scandals created a massive reputational threat. For an institution already struggling to move beyond past controversies, this was a risk that could not be ignored. Then the situation escalated even further. In late February 2026, reports surfaced that investigators seeking information related to the Epstein case had requested interviews and documents from individuals connected to the broader network. While the York sisters were not accused of wrongdoing, their names reportedly surfaced during background inquiries. Within the palace, that development changed everything. To William and Anne, the monarchy had reached a crossroads. Continuing to allow Beatrice and Eugenie to maintain public royal visibility while unanswered financial questions lingered could expose the entire institution to future legal and media storms. So Anne presented her full report to the king. The document laid out the risks with brutal clarity. It detailed the lack of compliance with William's ethics review, mapped the complicated web of private investments surrounding the sisters, and warned that the monarchy could face unpredictable fallout if transparency was not immediately achieved. For Beatrice and Eugenie, the consequences were devastating. Sources describe emotional scenes behind closed doors as the reality of the situation became clear. the sisters reportedly felt blindsided, believing they had been unfairly targeted. But Anne and William saw it differently. To them, this was never personal. It was about safeguarding the institution itself. In the modern era, they argued, the monarchy cannot survive even the appearance of hidden financial ties or unanswered questions. Every royal representative must be beyond doubt. Anything less could become a weapon for critics, investigators, or a relentless media cycle. As a result, the monarchy made a firm, decisive move forward, leaving the past firmly behind. Determined to protect its future and preserve its reputation, the institution began taking bold steps that signaled a new direction for the royal family. But what exactly were those actions, and how far was the palace willing to go to safeguard the crown? Let's take a closer look at the powerful steps that were quietly set in motion. Monarchy over family. Prince Andrew, now quietly referred to in palace circles as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has become the single most explosive liability within the House of Windsor. Once a visible, if controversial member of the royal family, his influence has dwindled to nothing, leaving him isolated and increasingly irrelevant. As of March 9, 2026, insiders describe him as entirely cut off from the inner workings of the monarchy, a man trapped within a spiraling personal and public nightmare that shows no signs of relief. Close sources at Royal Lodge paint a grim picture, a man teetering on the edge of psychological collapse. Constant legal battles, relentless media scrutiny, and global public condemnation have left him in a state of near-total social and emotional isolation. Unlike other royal controversies in history, Andrew's downfall is unprecedented. There is no modern parallel. Every headline, every leaked document, every reference to the Epstein files serves as a fresh reminder of his perceived culpability. The unsealing and widespread analysis of the Epstein files in early 2026 did more than stain his reputation. They transformed his very presence into a source of toxic influence within the palace. Each revelation has reinforced the narrative that his proximity to his daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, threatens their standing and, by extension, the integrity of the monarchy itself. This is not merely a private tragedy. It has become a systemic crisis. For years, Andrew clung to delusions of control, believing that he could manage the fallout by fighting legal battles or shaping his private image. He obsessed over trivial details of his daily life: parking privileges, shooting weekends, equestrian activities, while remaining blind to the catastrophic consequences of the allegations shadowing him. This denial wasn't simply personal, it became a strategic disaster for the royal family. Every court filing, every public statement, every attempt to defend himself only intensified the spotlight on the monarchy, threatening to drag everyone associated with him deeper into controversy. Even King Charles III initially hesitated to take decisive action. The instinct to protect a brother, forged over a shared childhood and tempered by family loyalty, made total isolation a difficult choice. But the survival of the monarchy demanded ruthlessness. Protecting the institution meant confronting an uncomfortable truth. Andrew's continued involvement endangered not just his daughters, but the credibility of the crown itself. The palace intelligence team, under the oversight of Princess Anne, recognized that any delay in separating the York sisters from their father's orbit risked irreparable damage to the royal brand. The Epstein scandal is no historical footnote. It is a living, pulsating wound. Each connection, however indirect, to the disgraced financier represents a current and dangerous liability. The monarchy's leadership understands that reputation is everything, and that any lingering ties to Andrew's associations threaten national confidence in the crown. The York problem, once dismissed as family drama, has evolved into a matter of statecraft, a strategic challenge requiring decisive intervention. The public's forgiveness has long been exhausted. The court of global opinion now judges with unrelenting severity, leaving no room for private delusions or carefully curated defenses. Andrew's world has been systematically dismantled, and every attempt to maintain control has only accelerated his fall. And now, with these historic decisions in place, a new standard has emerged, a rule, a protocol, designed to safeguard the monarchy's future. But this leaves one pressing question lingering in the corridors of power. Who else might the institution be prepared to sacrifice to ensure its survival? Keep watching as we unraveled every detail. Monarchy reforged, ruthless rules. In early 2026, the British monarchy quietly entered a new era, one defined not by tradition, but by structure, discipline, and an unflinching focus on survival. At the heart of this transformation is Prince William, now taking on the role of institutional architect, and his strategic partner, Princess Anne. Together, they have formalized what insiders are already calling the Magna Carta of the Windsor House, a comprehensive framework designed to govern the conduct of every royal, whether working or non-working, public-facing or private. Unlike earlier decades, when royal privilege existed in a hazy gray zone, the new protocol establishes crystal-clear rules. It is no longer enough to rely on birthright alone. The monarchy now views its privilege as a fiduciary trust, carrying responsibilities that extend beyond ceremony and tradition. Any royal who fails to meet these obligations risks concrete, enforceable consequences. At the core of the new regime is mandatory transparency. Royals holding assets above a set threshold must undergo annual ethics audits conducted by committees appointed through the Privy Council. These audits are far from cosmetic. They scrutinize high-risk connections, including controversial business partners, foreign shell companies, and associations with individuals tied to past scandals. Every financial decision, every social contact, is now subject to evaluation against the Crown's strict standards. The protocol also introduces an integrity firewall. Any engagement, direct or indirect, with individuals under serious criminal investigation is strictly prohibited. This extends to both personal relationships and financial involvement, eliminating the loopholes that once allowed questionable behavior to persist unnoticed. Political neutrality and social responsibility are similarly codified. Royals wishing to engage in activism or commercial ventures that could compromise the Crown's impartiality must formally resign their titles, stepping out of the institution entirely. Public appearances are no longer informal. The uniformity of representation pillar dictates precise professional standards, leaving no room for rogue tours, independent diplomatic initiatives, or unsanctioned media interactions. The monarchy is presenting a unified, disciplined face to the world. Perhaps most revolutionary is the tiered sanction system. Minor infractions, such as breaches of etiquette or unapproved appearances, trigger formal reprimands, mandatory training, and temporary suspension from public duties. Moderate violations, including ethical lapses or insufficient transparency, result in audits, indefinite suspension of patronages, and public censure. Severe breaches, activities that compromise the Crown's integrity, invite permanent exclusion from royal functions, removal of security privileges, and full institutional severance. At the most extreme level, criminal activity or systemic betrayal leads to immediate revocation of titles and styles, complete loss of royal status, and even removal from the line of succession. This is not theoretical. Precedent has already been established. The removal of Prince Andrew's military titles and patronages in 2022, followed by his full formal demotion in 2025, demonstrated that the Crown is willing to enforce these rules with zero tolerance. The message is clear. The monarchy will not hesitate to eliminate anyone whose behavior threatens its credibility or stability. The William-Anne approach rejects the old mantra of never complain, never explain. In a hyper-connected digital age, silence is no longer safe. Instead, the new strategy is proactive. Identify potential risks early, eradicate threats before they escalate, and preserve the institution's image above all else. Every move is calculated, Every decision tactical, and the stakes could not be higher for the extended royal family. And as these new rules take root, what will be the consequence of the implementation of the new rules on the York sisters? And could these unprecedented measures change the course of their royal lives forever? Let's break it down. The protocol that changed the royal game. Behind the glittering facade of royal ceremonies and carefully curated appearances, a quiet but seismic shift has been unfolding inside the palace. At the heart of it lies a new internal protocol, one insiders describe as the most serious effort in decades to safeguard the monarchy's reputation and reshape how its members are held accountable. While King Charles III remains the symbolic figurehead, the day-to-day enforcement of these rules has largely fallen to two figures: Prince William and Princess Anne. Together, they have become the monarchy's internal guardians, implementing a system designed to hold every royal to a stricter, more scrutinized standard than ever before. The public reaction has been surprisingly supportive. For years, frustration had been mounting across Britain at the idea that royal titles could shield individuals from accountability. The perception that privilege alone could protect members of the family from scrutiny had created growing resentment. The palace recognized that for the monarchy to endure into the next generation, that perception had to be addressed, and swiftly. Under the new framework, the institution began presenting itself less like an untouchable dynasty and more like a modern organization built on responsibility, discipline, and ethical consistency. Every member connected to the crown is now expected to meet strict transparency requirements. Financial dealings, business relationships, and public behavior are monitored under a tiered system of oversight. It was within this system that Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie suddenly found themselves under intense pressure. According to palace insiders, their hesitation to fully comply with the transparency protocols introduced in November 2025 triggered what officials call a Tier 2 concern. The situation escalated when investigators discovered their business ties still intersected with networks linked to their father's past controversies, pushing their case into a Tier 3 violation, the highest level of institutional risk. The York sisters became the first royals to face tangible consequences under this new regime, and the punishment was clear and public. Both were barred from attending Royal Ascot, one of the most prestigious events on the royal calendar. While Ascot may look like a glamorous horse racing affair to outsiders, within royal culture, the royal enclosure represents influence, acceptance, and status within the House of Windsor. Presence signals favor. Absence sends a stark message. By announcing the ban months before the June 16th to 20th festivities, the palace broadcast a definitive verdict, not just to the British public but to the international media and every member of the extended royal family. The era of informal royal representation had come to an end. Under William and Anne's leadership, the palace no longer hopes scandals fade quietly. Problems are addressed proactively, cutting off potential controversies before they can harm the institution. The Ascot decision symbolized two things: that cooperation with ethical oversight is mandatory, and that association with scandal is a liability, not a privilege. As the crown rebuilds its image around responsibility and integrity, one figure watches from the sidelines, isolated, increasingly unstable, and struggling to accept the harsh reality of a monarchy no longer willing to tolerate risk. Behind the palace doors, a man once untouchable, moving through society with privilege and influence, is now confronting a harsh and inescapable reality. His own actions have set consequences in motion. But inside the palace, hushed whispers are swelling into serious concern. How far does the damage really reach, and could his vulnerable state spark an even greater crisis for the crown? The answers lie deeper than anyone expected. Stay tuned to uncover the full story. Prince Andrew's psychological descent. When royal privilege crumbles. Prince Andrew's isolation has become a precise, almost surgical operation, executed with a level of discipline rarely seen within the royal family. The The man once at the center of palace life is now effectively confined to the perimeter of Royal Lodge, a residence currently undergoing an intensive cleansing and restructuring overseen by the Crown Estate. This is far more than a simple change of residence. It is the tangible physical embodiment of his removal from the very heart of the monarchy. For the Crown, Andrew is no longer just a controversial figure. He has become a contagion. Every day that he appears publicly, or that his daughters' names are linked in any way to his financial networks, the monarchy's credibility suffers. King Charles III has witnessed this effect firsthand, observing how decades-old scandals, once thought contained, continue to ripple into the mid-2020s, threatening the careful transition of royal authority to the next generation. The York scandal is no longer a private matter. It is a strategic threat to the institution itself. Palace insiders report that Andrew's mental state has reached a critical tipping point. Following a series of alarming incidents in late February 2026, he is reportedly under high-level suicide watch. His behavior has grown increasingly erratic, detached from reality, and steeped in paranoia. He is convinced that hidden forces are conspiring against him, blind to the fact that his own documented associations are the root cause of the scrutiny. While the human tragedy of his decline is evident, the monarchy has adopted a stark position. The fragility of one individual cannot dictate the survival of the crown. The institution's stability takes precedence over personal welfare. The tragedy lies in Andrew's belief in the permanence of his royal shield. He assumed his birthright guaranteed untouchable protection, failing to grasp that royal privilege is not a personal entitlement. It is a trust granted by the people, contingent upon responsibility and integrity. When he violated that trust, he effectively forfeited the very shield he counted on. The severance of his titles, the removal of his patronages, and the enforced distancing of his daughters are the closing acts of a painful dismantling. The York experiment, once a symbol of continuity, is now a cautionary tale. The monarchy can and will act decisively, even if it means losing members by birth. This is the new reality of the House of Windsor, a cold, disciplined meritocracy where loyalty to the institution outweighs all else. The past cannot be ignored, and there is no room for indulgence, even for princes. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor stands as proof that even royal blood offers no immunity. The monarchy has made it clear. The preservation of its integrity is absolute, and no individual, however high in rank, can compromise that mission. The consequences of this uncompromising approach extend far beyond Andrew himself. The institution is reshaping its public image, recalibrating the standards of behavior for all members, and signaling a new era in which accountability and discipline reign supreme. And now, let's take a closer look at who stands at the heart of this new image. The rise of the new Windsor era. Amid the palace's recent turmoil, the highly anticipated return of Catherine, Princess of Wales, has become a defining moment for the British monarchy. After more than 2 years away, due to a serious health battle with cancer, the palace confirmed that Catherine will attend the upcoming royal ascot alongside King Charles III. This is more than a social appearance. It is a carefully orchestrated statement of stability, resilience, and continuity, signaling that the monarchy's core remains strong and focused on duty. Catherine's presence serves as a deliberate contrast to the exile of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. While the York sisters retreat from public life amid scandal and investigations, Catherine's return reassures the nation and underscores the William-era transformation of the monarchy. Her health, her dedication, and her unwavering commitment to the institution position her as the emotional and moral center of this new royal order. The strategic timing of these announcements, a public ban for the York sisters paired with Catherine's return, demonstrates the palace's communication acumen. The message is clear. The monarchy is capable of addressing internal crises decisively while projecting hope and continuity to the public. The exile of Beatrice and Eugenie reinforces that the crown is no longer a refuge for privilege or unchecked behavior. Institutional integrity now takes precedence over family sentiment. Under the leadership of Prince William and Princess Anne, a tiered system of accountability has been implemented. Royal members are expected to comply fully with strict ethical and transparency standards, with violations triggering measurable consequences. The York sisters' exclusion from Ascot exemplifies the new approach. Those who compromise the crown's reputation will face real repercussions, while those who uphold its values, like Catherine, are celebrated and positioned as the face of the monarchy's renewed authority. The Royal Ascot will serve as the first public test of this new framework, showcasing a disciplined, modernized institution that balances accountability with loyalty. The palace has signaled that it will no longer tolerate scandals or dependency on the goodwill of extended family members. Past controversies, including those tied to Andrew and Epstein-related scandals, have been addressed decisively to prevent their influence on future generations. The events surrounding March 9, 2026, mark the culmination of a years-long transformation. The monarchy has moved from a system reliant on opaque traditions to one governed by clear rules, rigorous oversight, and strategic leadership. The William Revolution emphasizes that royal status is a duty, not a shield, and that the institution will prioritize longevity and integrity over familial indulgence. Catherine's return, combined with the exclusion of the York sisters, crystallizes this new era. A monarchy that enforces its rules, rehabilitates its image, and demonstrates resilience in the face of scandal. The palace has chosen to purge internal weaknesses, safeguard its reputation, and present a unified, disciplined front to the world. In doing so, the British monarchy under King Charles III, Prince William, and Princess Anne has signaled a clear message. Duty, transparency, and accountability are no longer optional. They are essential for the survival of the crown. So, can the monarchy truly justify exiling its own family members in the name of survival? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.